We humans tend to overcomplicate things. Nature already has its plans for us. Our main purpose is to survive and reproduce. Those are our only two purposes. It's to survive and reproduce. Everything else is just a construct made from humanity, made from the mind of a flawed animal. I was watching Jacked and Stacked. Shout out to him. I love his channel. One of the best Blackpill channels on YouTube. He doesn't just preach that doom and gloom and shit. I can't stand that shit. He actually provides solutions. But one thing I've noticed about him is that I was listening to him. I'm not sure if he wants kids or not. But I do remember him saying that he likes to be single. He likes to remain single. He's not looking for a relationship. And, just listening to him. But he's constantly trying to level up. And I was thinking, there are so many men who get trapped into this leveling up scheme. This leveling up, always constantly looks maxing, gym maxing, knowledge maxing, all this maxing. And they get lost in the sauce, and they forget the main purpose for doing all of these things is to reproduce. If you're not trying to reproduce, if you're not trying to pass your genetics on to the next generation, what are you doing? You're doing all this maxing to just sleep with women? That's empty. Now, of course, there are a lot of sub-5s in our community. And I know what I'm saying it will piss a lot of them off because they're like, hey, you can say this because you've had your fun. You're 31 years old. You're older. You have a wife. You have a child. Like, yeah, nice. Thank you for telling us that it doesn't mean anything. We haven't had anything, so you can't tell us shit. Listen, I understand that. I get it. But once you've had a couple of women, you've really had them all. Honestly. And going around looks maxing, gym maxing, doing all this maxing just to fuck around, it gets tiresome, it gets boring after a while. Because there's no end game. And that's one thing I hope Jacked and Stacked, I hope he understands that, this constant maxing, trying to one up the next man, trying to stay above the competition, try to stay above the fray, that gets tiresome after a while. And you're not accomplishing anything in the long run. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much money you've made. It doesn't matter how many women you fucked. It doesn't matter. And none of this shit matters if you don't have children. If you don't have a legacy, everything you've done was in vain. And the sad part is, even if you have a legacy, even if you do spread your seed, it could still die in vain. But your purpose is to survive and reproduce. All this other stuff is just cannon fodder. Listen, if you don't want a relationship, that's fine. But your main purpose is to reproduce. And if you don't do that, at the end of the day, you are a genetic failure. You are a genetic dead end. You are a failure when it comes to nature because you didn't do what you were programmed to do. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. You didn't pass on your genetics. So everything you do, if you don't do that, it's moot. Meaningless. Nothing. Zilch. Nada. So when you get caught up in this constant leveling up, looks maxing, all this stuff, all this jazz, understand that is supposed to lead to an end game. And that end game is reproducing. If you don't want to reproduce, if you're an anti-natalist, if you're in that crowd, what's the point of you leveling up anyway? So you can ease up in some women? I mean, if you really want to ease up in women, why just save yourself the heartache from gym maxing and looks maxing and just pay for it? Just pay for it. Just get through that shit. Just go through it the easy way. Don't make it hard on yourself. Just remember, When you get caught up in this, the end goal, the end game is reproducing. And brothers, I'm telling you, if you're in this community, you know how society is structured. You know that this is a competition. Once you're in this sphere and you have children, you'll feel accomplished. Like having a daughter, me and my wife are actually working on our next child. Having a child and raising that child into a productive citizen, that's rewarding. It's rewarding. And it's also a sigh of relief because you've done what you were programmed to do, which is to reproduce. You reproduce, you raise your seed to be the best human that it can be, that they can be. And that's what life is all about. Is that. Everything else is just nonsense. So just remember, the end goal is to survive and reproduce. And if you do that, if you can raise your children, you can have children and raise your children, you are a success at the end of the day. You are a reproductive success. And reproductive success is all that matters. All right, brothers, take heed. Peace.